Alright, so we kick things off with a giant foot slamming into the ground, and this huge monster declares that the whole city will worship them now. Then we see this guy in a black suit walking through the chaos. He announces that the Ravage clan is taking over. The cops on the scene immediately open fire on him. But the bullets just ping right off his suit. He just keeps walking towards them totally unfazed. This dude actually starts laughing at them. He mocks them for thinking bullets would ever work on him. Then out of nowhere, a beam of light shoots down from the sky. It blasts one of the cops, sending him flying. He lands hard on the ground in the middle of the fire. He is barely even conscious. He desperately reaches for his gun, but someone in heels steps on it before he can grab it. The cop looks up and he recognizes the person. She picks up the gun from the ground and we see her. It is the hero Star Sonic. The villain looks down at her and challenges her to a fight. Her eyes start to glow. Looks like she is accepting that challenge. She points the gun right at the villain. He just laughs, saying he is disappointed she is using a gun. But then she pulls the trigger and the bullet glows with power. The villain's eyes go wide as it flies right at him. It hits him dead center in a cloud of smoke. And oh my god, it actually cracks his helmet. The rest of his armor just shatters and falls off him. He looks completely shocked that she actually hurt him. Star Sonic is already behind him, saying the fun is just getting started. She throws a punch. And he goes down hard, clutching his side. He is definitely not laughing anymore. The other cops immediately move in and surround him. One of the officers looks over at Star Sonic, totally stunned. He stammers out a thank you for saving them. She just hands him back his gun. She tells him that if he ever needs her help again, she will come running anytime. And with that, she just leaps into the sky. But it looks like someone was watching the whole fight on a tablet. And we cut to this kid at an airport who is apparently a huge Star Sonic fan. He seems pretty focused on whatever is going on. This woman with him says it is time to board and asks for his passport. She gives him a hard time about his passport photo, and we see his name is Lee Roon. He just kinda mumbles an excuse. Then he says it is fine, hold on. He is in a wheelchair. His handler tells him a guide will be waiting for him at the manga fair, but he says he can go alone. But she says she is just too worried to let him go by himself. He asks her why she is so worried. He points down at his legs, asking if this is the reason. She just avoids the question and says it is because he is still a minor. He just gives her this little smirk. Just then, an airline employee walks up to them. She says she is here to help him with boarding. She starts to wheel him away. His handler just watches them go, looking super concerned. And then we see a plane taking off into the night sky. Our guy Roon is on the flight looking at his tablet again. It is an article about a manga fair in Seattle featuring Star Sonic. He thinks about how he will get to see Star Sonic soon, even if it is just an actor. He thinks about how much he is looking forward to it, but then some dude stumbles and bumps right into his seat. The guy's glasses go flying onto the floor. He starts fumbling around looking for them. He is apologizing, saying it is too dark to see. Roon just calmly points them out for him. And man, he can smell the alcohol on this guy from a mile away. The man puts his glasses back on. He apologizes again, saying his eyesight is terrible. He notices Roon is a Korean student and tries to start a conversation. Roon is not having it though and just turns away. The guy just kinda stands there looking confused. Then someone else on the plane yells at him to shut up. This other passenger tells him to keep it down so people can sleep. A flight attendant comes over and asks the man what he is doing. She escorts him back to his seat. Our boy just sighs. What a hassle. He looks out the window thinking he still has 8 hours to go, so he decides to just close his eyes and get some sleep. But then his eyes just shoot open. And then a massive explosion rips through the side of the plane. His eyes go wide in total shock. The blast tears through the cabin, sending people flying everywhere. He squeezes his eyes shut as the chaos erupts around him. Everything is just fire and smoke. The flames are just consuming everything. He sees flashes of people screaming in terror. It is all a blur of panicked faces. And then he hears his handler's voice calling out to him. He opens his eyes and he is in a hospital bed. He remembers the crash. He bolts upright in bed, totally freaking out. She hugs him, telling him he was asleep for 10 whole days. She was terrified he was never going to wake up. Our boy just looks completely stunned by all this. Then we cut to this big modern house at night. Inside, a guy in a suit is standing in a room full of hero posters. He has got a whole collection of hero helmets on display. And we see Roon again in his wheelchair looking out a giant window. He looks at his own reflection, and he has this little smile on his face. His handler walks into the room, telling him she brought his medicine. She sets down a tray with some pills and a glass of water. She has this really worried look on her face. She asks our boy if he is still having trouble sleeping. He says that he is actually relieved. She is glad he survived the crash without any major injuries and says his parents must be watching over him. He just looks away from her, and he cuts her off, saying he is tired. She just looks down sadly. She says she understands and turns to leave the room. The door slams shut, leaving him alone. He pulls up a news article about the plane crash on his tablet. He watches the reporters on the scene. The news says they are still hoping to find more survivors. He grips the joystick on his wheelchair. He starts to turn around, but he bumps the table, knocking everything over. His eyes go wide in absolute panic. He looks completely terrified, and the glass of water goes tumbling to the floor. The water spills everywhere as the glass tips over. He instinctively reaches out to grab it, and somehow he actually catches it mid-air. He just stares at his hand in total shock. Hold on, the wheelchair is empty. And we see a pair of feet standing on the floor. My guy is standing up. He looks down at his legs, completely confused. He takes a single step forward, and then he is just sprinting down a running track. He is running so fast he can barely believe it himself. He is thinking that his legs are actually moving. He cannot believe he is really running again. He is just flying along the edge of a rooftop with a huge smile. He crouches down, building up more and more speed, and then he just leaps straight up into the air. He looks down from the sky, totally confused. He starts to panic, wondering what the hell is happening, and then he just starts plummeting back to the ground. He braces himself for the impact, and he sticks the landing like a total pro. His legs actually hold his weight, but the exhaustion hits him and he just collapses. He lies on the track just trying to catch his breath. He looks up with this look of pure shock and awe. Then we cut to a classroom full of students. They are all whispering about Roon. They know he was in that big accident from the news. One of them says he looks way too normal, and we see him sitting there right next to his wheelchair. He thinks about that moment, how his legs stopped moving again right after, but he knows it could not have been a dream. He just sits there in his chair wondering what on earth that was. Just then some guy walks up calling his name. This dude with a buzz cut is all smiles, saying he cannot believe Roon actually survived. He leans over asking how he did it, like maybe God took pity on him or something. He gets way too close, saying he was so bored without him around, and our boy is just not having any of it. He reaches into his jacket and just slaps a wad of cash down on the wheelchair. The bully just laughs and tells him to hurry up and get going, but then he grabs Roon's face. He says Roon's face has been annoying him and asks if almost dying made him forget his place. He reminds him he was gone for 3 whole weeks. And he better bring way more than this next time. But then a hand just smacks his away. The bully is completely shocked, asking who the hell she is. A girl stands there telling him to give the money back right now. Roon looks up in surprise. He knows her. Her name is Danhee. Buzzcut completely loses it, raising his fist and asking if she has a death wish. But she does not even flinch, just stands her ground ready to throw down. He throws a wild punch, but she just ducks right under it. She immediately grabs him by the collar, and with one move she flips the dude right over her shoulder. She holds onto his wrist and warns him not to try that again. Buzzcut is just completely stunned. He has no idea what just happened. He yanks his hand away, totally furious. He stomps off, muttering about what a bunch of crap this is. Danhee just calmly picks up one of the bills from the floor. She hands it to Roon, reminding him he is supposed to tell her when this stuff happens. Our boy just stares back at her, not saying a single word. Then we see them outside of the school a little later. She is asking him if he has really been handing over money every week, and he just says yeah. She cannot believe what she is hearing, asking him what he was thinking. He just says it is not that much money and it is worth it for some peace and quiet, and then she just kicks his wheelchair. Whoa. She gets this terrifying look on her face and tells him to never give them anything again. She demands to know if he gets it, but he just looks like a little blob. He looks away and tells her this has nothing to do with her. Oh, that was definitely the wrong thing to say. She gets right in his face, reminding him they have been friends for 10 years, so of course it has something to do with her. But just then another student runs up, telling Danhee the PE teacher is looking for her. She tells Roon she is going and to wait for her after class so they can go home together. He just gives her this little smile as he wheels away. So some time passes and school lets out for the day. Danhee slides open the classroom door. She calls out his name, expecting him to be there, but the classroom is completely empty. He is gone. She is so annoyed. She literally just told him to wait for her. But then she gets this worried look on her face, and she sees it, a social media post from that buzzcut loser. He has got Roon and is mocking him with a location tag. Her face just goes cold. She knows exactly where they are. We cut to this industrial area full of shipping containers, and there they are, Buzzcut and his crew surrounding our boy. One of them has his phone and is making fun of him for having a bunch of pictures of some hero. The guy asks if he has any pictures of girls, and of course he says no, but then he finds one. It is a picture of him and Danhee, and he asks if she is his girlfriend. Roon immediately freaks out, demanding his phone back, but the bully just grins. He has this really nasty look on his face. And he just tosses the phone on the ground in front of him, telling him to take it. He knows he cannot get out of the chair. He is just taunting him. Roon just grits his teeth, trying to push himself up, and the bully just kicks his wheelchair right over. Our boy goes tumbling to the ground as they all just laugh at him. And then some new guy with red hair shows up, telling him to crawl over and get his phone. But then we hear a shout from off screen. The bullies all turn around completely confused, and it is Danhee. She is sprinting towards them, telling them to cut it out. One of the goons points her out to the leader, saying it is that girl from before. The red-haired guy just looks over completely unfazed. He casually flicks his cigarette to the ground. He gets right in her face, asking if she is the one who embarrassed his little brother. She just stares him down and tells him to move. This girl has no fear. He just gives her this creepy little smirk. She ignores him completely and tells Roon they are leaving, but as she turns to go he grabs her by the hair. No, he did not, and he just slams her face first into the ground. He looks down at her with this dead-eyed stare. She looks up at him totally furious, and he tells her to do to him what she did to his worthless little brother. Oh, this is not good. And she just immediately smashes him with a back elbow right to the jaw, but he just looks back at her, barely even fazed. She hits him again asking if that is all he has got. She looks absolutely feral right now, but he just calls her a brat who does not know her place. He puts his foot on her back, telling her to get up and hit him more. Roon is on the ground screaming for him to stop. The red-haired leader then tells his lackeys to strip her clothes off. Okay, no, that is way too far. One of them grabs her jacket, saying he will make sure she never acts tough again. Our boy is just on the ground shaking, begging them to stop, and then his eyes start to glow with this pure white rage, and blue lightning just starts crackling all around his legs, and his mind flashes back to when they were kids. To her always being there, hurrying him along, to her always standing up for him, even when he would not, and then he sees her now, bleeding on the ground, all because she was trying to protect him again. He lets out a primal scream telling them to stop. The bullies all turn around completely confused. Roon looks up with a look of pure cold fury, and then he stands. He is actually standing on his own 2 feet. The others are in total shock, asking how he can even move. Buzzcut cannot believe what he is seeing, because our boy just launches himself through the air and smashes his fist right into the leader's face. The red-haired guy stumbles back in pain and rage. Roon lands perfectly, the lightning still arcing around his legs. The leader swings back with a wild punch of his own. He is absolutely seething. He charges forward trying to grab him, but Roon just effortlessly backflips into the night sky. He lands on top of a shipping container, looking down on all of them. The rest of the crew is absolutely horrified. He just stomps on the leader's little brother. The other two are trying to book it out of their screaming about what the hell he is, but Roon just lands right in front of them, cutting off their escape. He gives them this death glare, asking where they think they are going. He looks down on them, calling them trash. Oh yeah, they are not getting away, and we just hear their screams echoing into the night. He took care of them. Then we cut to Danhee. She's waking up in a hospital bed. Roon is there watching over her. He asks if she is awake. She sits up immediately, asking if he is okay. Wait, he is back in the wheelchair. She asks how she even got here and what happened to those guys. He lies, telling her some tall guy showed up and beat them all up, and then he called an ambulance. She just breathes a huge sigh of relief, glad that it is all over, but she is still worried about him, asking if he is really not hurt anywhere. He tells her to worry about herself first. The doctors said she has a cracked rib. She tries to play it off like it is nothing, swinging her arm around, but yeah, that X-ray shows a definite crack. Just then a nurse comes in, happy to see that Danhee is finally awake. The nurse says she has already called her parents and will be leaving, and Roon says he has to go too. He has something he needs to do. He just wheels himself out, leaving her looking a little confused. So we cut to later that night at this super fancy modern house. And there is Roon, all alone in this huge empty room. He just sits there in his wheelchair, staring down at his own feet. He is concentrating with everything he has got, trying to make them move. He is begging them to just move, trying to see if what happened earlier was real, and then he decides he is going to test it for real. And there it is. The blue energy starts crackling around his legs again. He pushes himself up, the power surging through him, and he is standing. He is actually standing. He cannot believe it. He wonders if he can really use this power whenever he wants. With a look of pure determination, he decides to test it again. And we cut to the top of a skyscraper, looking up at the night sky. A blue streak just rockets past. It is our boy. He is literally parkouring across the city rooftops. He is moving so fast he is just a blur of light. He is so happy. He cannot believe how amazing this feels. But then his face just drops. He sees something. He is looking towards another building. He comes to a dead stop on a rooftop, and he just stands there on the edge, looking out over the city. He stands there thinking maybe he went a little too far. But then he decides he needs to get some training in. He plants his foot on the ground, and then he is off, just a blur of motion. He glances back with a look of pure focus. My dude is literally parkouring across the city. He vaults off a small pillar and just soars through the night sky. He is flying towards this huge rock formation, and he lands perfectly on top of it. He just stands there for a moment, looking over the entire city. And then his mind flashes back to a memory. We are in a classroom now, and a girl walks in. She calls out his name, Roon, but he is just passed out at his desk in his wheelchair. The girl realizes he is asleep and just watches him for a second. Then we snap back to the present. He gets into a low stance, and he takes this absolutely insane leap off the building. He lands on another rooftop with a perfect slide. He looks back completely amazed. He actually did it. He cheers to himself, realizing he can control it perfectly now. But then he stops dead in his tracks because he sees smoke and fire rising in the distance. It looks like a full-on explosion just happened. He just stares out at the chaos, completely stunned. And yeah, it is a full-on inferno. A whole building is just engulfed in flames. The scene is pure chaos with police trying to hold back the crowd. The firefighters are scrambling trying to get the situation under control. The chief is asking if anyone is still trapped. They think everyone is out, but then someone yells to wait. A guy runs up in a panic screaming that a kid is still missing. The chief immediately gets on the radio ordering them to extend the ladder. The ladder starts rising up towards the burning building, but the other firefighters are hesitant. They know going in there is way too dangerous. The entire building is just a raging firestorm at this point, and then a blue streak of energy just slams down from the sky into the flames. The firefighters just look up completely stunned. What did they just see? Meanwhile, inside, someone is on the ground trapped under rubble, and then a figure emerges from the smoke. A guy in a hoodie and a mask. He sees the person on the ground completely surrounded by fire. The hooded guy rushes forward. He has this look of intense focus. And he just lifts this huge piece of debris like it is nothing. He turns back to the trapped man. He throws the guy over his shoulder and just starts carrying him out of there. Our boy is playing hero. He looks down at the guy with pure resolve. His eyes glow with that now familiar blue light. The energy just swirls around his legs as he prepares to move, and he just leaps straight out of the building carrying the dude. He blasts through the flames like a cannonball. He comes flying down towards the street below. And he lands with a huge impact right in front of the firefighters. He carefully lays the rescued man on the pavement. One of the firefighters tries to call out to him telling him to wait, but our boy is not sticking around for questions. He just launches himself back into the sky and disappears. The crowd is just stunned. They ask if that was even a human. And of course, everyone is pulling out their phones to record it. Then we cut to later that night, and we see Roun standing in his room. He just collapses onto his bed completely drained. He stares up at the ceiling looking a little overwhelmed. Then the scene changes to a classroom. We see someone in a wheelchair. It is a different guy. He is just staring out the window, and two other students are talking about someone named Songju. Okay, so we are in the classroom and wait, that is not a different guy. That is our boy Roun. He is back at school and overhearing some gossip about a dude named Songju who got beat up. And these other guys in the back are just laughing about it, saying it serves him right for being arrogant. Roun just listens quietly from his desk. Then one of the bullies brings up something else, asking if everyone saw the video of the fire from yesterday. And that gets Roun's attention. The fire video. He pulls out his own phone thinking, wait a minute, if they have a video, does that mean I am in it? Just then the teacher walks in telling everyone to put their phones away, but someone is still watching it. And yep, there he is, a clear shot of our hooded hero carrying the guy out. The person quickly hides their phone, and we see it is Roun. He looks super nervous. The video shows the moment he landed right in front of everyone. He starts scrolling through the comments, and of course everyone is calling it fake or bad CG. He just keeps reading, looking more and more worried. But then he sees a comment that says it is not fake, and they are even posting a link to an interview. He hesitates for a second and then clicks the link. The video plays, and it is an interview with one of the firefighters from the scene. The firefighter says he could not see a face, but it was definitely a person. The news reporter asks where they went, and the firefighter just says they flew. The headline is already blowing up. A reporter is on the scene talking about the unidentified hero and the eyewitness accounts. And now the internet is in a full-blown debate. Is it real? Is it fake? What is going on? Roun just stares at his phone, his eyes starting to glow blue again as he realizes this is getting way bigger than he ever expected. He's just staring at his phone as his eyes glow. He sees a comment pop up on the screen. They are calling him a real-life star Sonic. Then we cut to some other guy sitting at his desk looking at a tablet. A woman comes in and asks if the young master wants his meal brought to his room, but he turns with a smile and says he will eat in the dining room. The woman seems a little surprised by this, and we see why. This dude is also in a wheelchair. He wheels past a mannequin wearing a full-on superhero suit, and he just gives it this knowing little smile. Meanwhile on TV, some show is covering the whole incident. The host is this masked guy who is completely freaking out about the footage. He promises his viewers that his show will uncover the truth. And of course he tells everyone to like and subscribe. He has this super intense grin on his face. We see him sitting in his messy room just glued to the screen. Alright, so we cut to a car driving down the street, and a mom is asking her daughter if she finished her cram school homework. The mom is not convinced though, asking if she is lying again like last time, and the daughter tries to get out of it, saying she does not feel well enough to go today, but mom is having none of it. She says she is always trying to slack off, and then suddenly her expression just completely changes to one of pure terror. Because the road in front of them just starts to shatter and collapse. Cars are swerving everywhere trying to avoid whatever is happening. It is just total chaos as everyone slams on their brakes. Another driver is just screaming, asking what the hell is going on. Oh my god, a massive sinkhole just opened up in the middle of the road. And their car just plummets straight down into the darkness. Then we cut to a different scene. We are at a school and students are leaving for the day. One girl is complaining really loudly about how hard the mock exam was, and a voice behind her just says that any test is going to be hard for her. And it is our other guy in a wheelchair, the one with the hero suit. He is teasing her saying he did perfectly. But then they overhear some other students talking about something crazy on their phone, a road caved in somewhere. He hears the name of the place and it gets his attention. He asks if they are serious. The girl he was with asks what is going on. She pulls out her own phone and sees the breaking news alert, a picture of the massive sinkhole. She is freaking out that a car fell in, but he just gets this super intense look on his face. He just tells her he is heading home first and wheels away. The girl just watches him leave, thinking to herself that he is cold as ever. But then we see him in an alleyway, and hold on. He is getting out of the wheelchair. He can walk. He is literally just standing up out of it. So the whole wheelchair thing is a front. He thinks about the location of the sinkhole. He looks out over the city, figuring he knows which way to go. He tosses a cloth over the wheelchair to hide it. Then he pulls on a hoodie and a mask. It is go time, and he just leaps off the side of the building. We cut to the disaster site, and yeah, it is a massive sinkhole. A reporter is on the scene explaining that rescue operations are trying to get to the car that fell, but it is not going well. The ground is still unstable, making it too dangerous. The rescue team confirms they cannot get any closer, and a helicopter is still a ways out. The chief is furious, asking if they are supposed to just stand there and watch. And we look down into the pitch black hole, where the car sits at the bottom. Inside the car, the little girl is terrified, asking her mom if they are going to die. The daughter is just sobbing, blaming herself and saying this is punishment for trying to skip school. The mom just holds her tight, telling her it is not her fault and that everything will be okay. They are just clinging to each other as the car shakes, and then a figure lands on their windshield. It is him, the other hero. He just taps on the glass to get their attention. The mom sees him and immediately starts begging him to save her daughter. He opens the door and tells her to pass the child over carefully. The daughter is scared to leave her mom, but the mom promises she will be right behind her. And just like that, he leaps straight up out of the sinkhole carrying the little girl. He lands safely on the street and calls for a medic. The medics take the girl, but she is just screaming for them to save her mom. One of the rescuers tries to stop him, telling him to hold on a second, but he just turns and walks right back towards the edge of the hole. They are yelling at him that it is too dangerous because the ground is still collapsing. He just looks back for a second, and just then the car gets buried under a ton of falling rock and dirt. Without a second of hesitation, he just dives straight back into the pit. The car is plummeting even further down into the darkness. He is basically sliding down the crumbling wall of the sinkhole. He kicks off the side to launch himself towards the falling car. Up on the surface, everyone is just staring down in disbelief. The rescue team is completely frozen just watching this happen. Then one of them just points down into the hole, completely stunned, because our boy is flying straight out of the sinkhole carrying the mom. He lands safely on the street, setting the mom down as her daughter rushes towards them. The little girl is just crying her eyes out, screaming for her mom, and they have this tearful reunion right there on the pavement. The mom is just thanking him over and over again, saying it is all because of him. But then some guys in tracksuits run up to him, asking if he is who they think he is. Oh no, a woman shoves a phone in his face, asking if he is the same guy from the Hanam Dong fire. Suddenly, a whole crowd of people swarms the area, all with their phones out recording him. He just looks around, completely overwhelmed by all the attention. And then blue energy starts crackling around his feet. He just launches himself straight into the air to get away from everyone. He looks back for a second as he flies away, and for a split second he sees an image of a different hero. He just keeps flying, his eyes wide with some kind of realization. Then we cut to this big government-looking building, a courthouse. Inside, a judge is about to pass his judgment in a trial. He reads the charges. The defendant drove drunk and killed someone. We see the defendant sitting there in handcuffs, but the judge says that because of a history of mental illness, his sentence will be reduced. And the defendant, this blonde dude, is just smirking as he gets a suspended sentence. And we are back on that weird TV show from before, The Real Man Show. And it is our masked host again. He is all fired up, saying the real Star Sonic has saved the world yet again. He starts listing off all the incidents: the fire, the sinkhole, and now an apartment building collapse. He says the view counts are going through the roof because a real superhero has appeared, and he points out the mask our hero was wearing when the crowd surrounded him. He is actually taking credit for the name, saying his channel was the first to call him Star Sonic. And his logic here is just insane. He says this proves Star Sonic is watching his show. He even starts talking directly to our hero through the live stream, asking him to come on the show. And we see our boy Roon watching this, thinking to himself that maybe the mask was a bad idea. The host moves on to his next topic, the drunk hit and run case involving that rich kid Taehoon. He shows footage of the guy giving a fake apology to the press. But then we see the smug look on his face. This dude is not sorry at all. The host is losing it. He says the whole mental illness thing was a lie and that everyone was bribed. He's getting angrier and angrier, even asking if he should just go deal with the guy himself. But then the live chat gives him an idea. They want Star Sonic to go punish him instead. Roon is just watching this on his tablet as the host calls Star Sonic faster than the law. He gets this look on his face as the host begs Star Sonic to teach the guy a lesson. And then we cut to a super loud and flashy nightclub. And look who it is. Taehoon, the rich kid, is partying with his friends. He is just bragging about how he knew he would never get caught. What a piece of work. His friend is saying they could not hide the drunk driving part, but at least the fake mental illness worked. But T-Win just smirks and asks if his friend really thought he was just drunk. Oh my god. His friend is like, wait, were you on drugs? And his friends are just losing their minds, laughing and bowing down to him like he is some kind of king. This dude is seriously twisted. He loves this. Later on, he is walking through a parking garage looking pretty wasted. He heads over to his super expensive looking sports car, and he just leans against it complaining about how people look down on him. But as he is talking, he sees a reflection in the car window, a hooded figure standing right behind him. He turns around completely confused, and boom, he gets blasted right in the chest with that blue energy. He hits the ground hard, and through his blurry vision, he sees our boy standing over him. He gets up on his elbows, asking who the hell he is and who sent him. Then he gets to his feet and starts yelling that he is going to kill him. He is trying to pull the "do you know who I am" card. But Star Sonic just grabs him by the shirt, not impressed. He throws him back on the ground and says he knows exactly who he is. He calls him filthy trash who ran over an innocent person and shows no remorse. T-Win is furious. He asks if the victim's family hired him. So T-Win immediately switches tactics to bribery, asking how much money he wants. He starts throwing out huge numbers, offering to double whatever the victim's family paid. Our boy just slowly lowers his hand, and this idiot thinks he has won. He is smiling and reaching out thinking they have a deal, and then crunch. He just stomps right on the dude's hand. That has got to hurt. Then he gives him his terms. Go to the victim's family and apologize. Confess all your crimes and make them public. T-Win is in agony, but he agrees to do it, asking what will happen if he does not. Star Sonic just warns him that next time it will be more than just his hand, and then he is gone in a flash. T-Win is left on the ground, and that look on his face is pure rage. He is definitely not going to do what he was told. The next day we are back at school with Ruun, and of course everyone is talking about Star Sonic. The girl from before is telling him that even the actor who plays Star Sonic in the movies wants to meet the real one. She asks him if he read the article, pointing out that for a fan he seems pretty uninterested. He just gives a lame excuse, and she is looking at him like she knows something is up. Then she tells him about a rumor going around, that Star Sonic might actually be a student at their school. She says it is because the pants he wore at the Sinkhole looked like their school uniform. But she thinks it is a silly idea. Roon just gives a little laugh and says that is funny. He is trying so hard to play it cool, but she is not buying it. She is just staring at him. She asks him what is up with him lately. As she wheels him away, she says he has been acting weird and seems brighter, and she thinks it is suspicious. The walls are closing in Buddy, so we cut to a hospital late at night. And inside, some guy in a suit is asking if he is sure he does not want to call the police. And it is T-Win, that rich kid, screaming that he does not need cops. He wants revenge. He tells his guy to find out everything about Star Sonic and then get out. T-Win is just stewing in his bed, absolutely livid, but then someone else walks into the room. And this new voice asks if he really thinks he can handle someone like Star Sonic. T-Win is confused, asking who the hell just walked in, and he just starts laughing at this new guy standing there. But the visitor warns him that no matter what he does, he is no match for our hero. T-Win recognizes him though, calling him Director Choi. And then suddenly he cannot speak, like his mouth is being forced shut by something. Director Choi just smiles and tells him to be quiet in a hospital. As T-Win struggles, the director asks if he wants to know why he is there, and his eyes start glowing blue just like Roon's, saying he is there to finish the job. T-Win is completely terrified. The entire hospital bed is lifted by this guy's power, and he just slams it right into T-Win, crushing him. Then we cut to the next morning, outside the same hospital, and a nurse is walking into T-Win's room calling his name. She says she is there with his painkiller injection. But then her eyes go wide with absolute horror, because all she sees is a single foot sticking out of a mangled bed. She lets out a scream and drops the entire tray, and we see why. The bed has been completely folded in half, with T-Win crushed to death right in the middle of it. Alright, so we cut away from that whole mess to an airport at night, and we see this new guy struggling to squeeze into his seat on the plane. He is having a really hard time with the seatbelt. Then someone calls out his name, Sayuk. His friend asks if his seat is okay. Sayuk just forces a smile and says it is perfect, even though it is clearly not. The friend apologizes for the booking mix-up that sat him away from the group. He tells him to have fun on their graduation trip, and Sayuk just nervously agrees. But as soon as the guy walks away, his other friend asks why they even brought that pig along. Oh, that is messed up. The guy in the New York shirt explains that having him along saves them money. He admits he lied and charged Sayuk 3 times the actual trip fee, and the poor guy just paid it, and we get Sayuk's inner thoughts. He knows they ignored him all through college, but he says there is a reason he still decided to come on this trip. We see his so-called friends laughing and talking with some girls, and his thoughts reveal the reason. A girl named Jang Sehi is on the trip too. He watches her from his seat, completely smitten. He thinks to himself that this is his last chance to make a move. And with that, the plane takes off into the night sky. Later on, he is trying to get some sleep, but the guy next to him is snoring like a chainsaw. Then a flight attendant walks up to his row and gets his attention. She asks if she can help him, and he just asks for a beer, and it looks like he has had a few already. But even after 3 cans, he still cannot fall asleep. He just looks down the dark and quiet aisle of the plane. All he can think about is Sehi, wondering if she is asleep. But then he has to get up to use the bathroom, so he makes his way down the aisle, and as he walks he thinks he sees her sleeping on her friend's shoulder. But hold on, that is not her. He looks around trying to find where she went. That is when he hears a girl's voice saying they should not be doing this. Oh no, it is Sehi, with his so-called friend, who is telling her it is fine because everyone is asleep. The guy keeps pushing, saying it is okay as long as they are quiet, and he leans in to kiss her. And Seyuk sees the entire thing. My man looks absolutely destroyed. And then they kiss, right in front of him. This is just heartbreaking. He just stands there frozen, unable to believe his eyes. The couple finally notices him standing there. The girl asks if Seyuk saw them and the guy is just annoyed. He says who cares if he saw, and then Sehi calls our boy a creep. Wow, the guy just walks into the bathroom and slams the door. He makes it to the bathroom and just grips the sink, completely furious with himself. He looks in the mirror, just calling himself an idiot for what he expected. He thinks there was no way someone like him could ever confess and actually be accepted. He walks out of the bathroom looking totally defeated. He is just thinking he never should have come on this trip. He decides as soon as they land he is getting the first flight home, but as he is walking back the plane hits some turbulence and he starts to fall. He stumbles forward into the aisle. He is on the ground apologizing, saying he could not see and dropped his glasses. He finds them on the floor and puts them back on. He gets up and apologizes profusely to the guy he stumbled into. The kid just stares at him. Seyuk asks if he is a Korean high schooler, and the kid just closes his eyes and ignores him. Okay, that is a bit cold. Then some other passenger yells at Seyuk, telling him to shut up. The guy says people are trying to sleep, and Seyuk just apologizes again. A flight attendant comes over and asks what is going on. He just says he went the wrong way, so she guides him back down the aisle. He gives one last annoyed look back at the kid who ignored him. He is thinking what a cocky little brat, but then his so-called friend is standing there calling his name. Great, just what he needed. The guy in the New York shirt tries to talk to him about what he saw earlier, but Seyuk just turns and walks away. His so-called friend tries to stop him calling out his name, but Seyuk just thinks to himself that they do not need to worry about him spreading rumors since he has no friends to tell. Oh my god, that is sad. But then he notices something out the window. And suddenly there is a massive explosion on the wing of the plane. He just stares in absolute shock. The entire plane is ripped apart and everyone is thrown into the air. Seyuk is tumbling through the chaos. He is screaming in sheer terror. All he can think is that this is it. He is going to die, but then a bright light appears right in front of him. He feels himself being pulled towards it. His eyes widen as he gets closer. Then a new voice asks if he is awake, asking for his name. And he wakes up in a bed with an oxygen mask. But wait, that is not him. He is completely different, and he says his name is Seyuk.